Smoke curled along the edge of the quiet suburban street, curling like ghostly fingers in the fading sunlight. Max's ears twitched at every crackle. Emma's laughter rang from the backyard, innocent and unaware, chasing a bouncing ball near the garage. Sarah's voice called out, sharp with worry, but she was a few steps behind, fumbling with the grocery bags. Suddenly, a spark leapt from the dry pile of leaves licking the side of the house. The flames grew faster than Sarah could react. Max barked, low and urgent, muscles tensing. Emma froze, too young to understand, staring at the growing fire. Max's eyes met Sarah's for a brief moment, and then, as if understanding the unspoken command, he surged forward. Smoke stung his nose. Heat pressed against his fur. But the child was his mission. Nothing else mattered. Flames roared now, hungrily climbing the siding, sending sparks into the darkening sky. Max's paws pounded against the scorched earth, ignoring the heat searing his fur. Emma's small frame trembled as the smoke thickened, choking the air around her. She stumbled backward, arms flailing, eyes wide with terror. Sarah's voice cracked, calling her name, but Max was closer. He leapt through the smoke, eyes locked on Emma, growl low and warning. The world narrowed to that small bundle of fear, her life dangling just steps away.
Stop!
The fire hissed, snapping at him, but Max ignored it, muscles straining with each bound. Emma shrieked, a high-pitched sound swallowed by the roar of destruction. Max reached her, nuzzling her ankle, urging her to trust him. She hesitated, then grasped his fur, and together they began the desperate retreat.
Emma!
Smoke burned Max's eyes, but he didn't slow. Emma clung to his fur, small hands gripping desperately. The fire's roar was deafening, a wall of orange and black that threatened to swallow everything. Sarah ran alongside them, lungs screaming, heart hammering against her ribs. Max twisted, guiding Emma away from falling debris, darting through a path that only he seemed to see. The heat was unbearable, singeing the edges of his fur, but he pushed forward, ears pinned back, teeth gritted. Emma whimpered, coughing, and Max nuzzled her face gently, coaxing her courage. Behind them, the garage cracked and groaned, timber snapping under the fire's wrath. Every instinct screamed to flee, but Max's focus never wavered. One step, then another, until the air began to clear, the shadows of the fire receding just enough for a glimpse of the front yard. They stumbled into the yard, coughing and gasping, smoke curling around them like restless ghosts. Emma's small body shivered, clinging to Max as if he were the only solid thing in the world. Sarah dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around both of them, tears stinging her eyes. Max stayed alert, ears swiveling, scanning for any lingering danger, fur singed but posture unwavering. The fire hissed behind them, devouring the garage and a stack of boxes, but the child was safe. Neighbors had begun to gather, murmurs of alarm mixing with the distant wail of sirens. Max stepped back slightly, chest heaving, amber eyes glinting with quiet pride. Sarah stroked his head, whispering frantic thanks. Emma's small fingers stroked his fur, a shaky laugh escaping despite the smoke and fear. Max let out a low, satisfied bark, the hero of the moment, standing tall amidst chaos. The first fire engine rounded the corner, lights flashing through the smoky haze. Jack leapt from the cab, gear clanging, eyes scanning the scene with trained precision. Sarah waved frantically, pointing toward the scorched garage and her trembling daughter. Max stayed close, still alert, ears flicking toward every snap and crackle. Jack moved quickly, shouting instructions, unrolling hoses, commanding calm among the gathering neighbors. Smoke stung his eyes, but his focus never wavered. Emma clung to Max, her small hands brushing his burnt fur as if drawing strength from him. Sarah's chest rose and fell rapidly, trying to steady her breathing. Max glanced at Jack once, almost as if recognizing an ally, then turned his gaze back to Emma, guarding her like a living shield. In that moment, amid chaos and fire, a strange calm settled over the yard, a quiet understanding that they had survived the worst. The firefighters advanced, hoses spraying water that hissed against the flames, sending thick steam into the air. Max stayed at Emma's side, every muscle tense, ready to move at the slightest sign of danger. Sarah knelt beside them, brushing soot from Emma's hair, whispering reassurances she barely felt. The fire raged on, consuming what remained of the garage, but the family was safe. Max let out a low growl, sniffing the air, sensing the fire's unpredictability. Jack shouted directions to his team, and water cut through the heat, sparks flying like tiny fireflies in the smoky dusk. Emma buried her face in Max's fur, comforted by his warmth and strength. The world beyond the yard seemed to blur, the smoke, the flames, the frantic shouts. But here, With the dog who had risked everything, she felt a fragile, trembling sense of safety. Minutes passed like hours as the fire crackled and hissed, fighting against the relentless streams of water. Max's fur was scorched at the edges, and smoke clung to his coat, but he refused to move from Emma's side. Her small hand stroked him gently, whispering thanks she barely understood. Sarah held them both, shivering, exhausted, but grateful beyond words. Jack moved closer, assessing the damage, eyes scanning for any lingering embers that might reignite the blaze. Max sniffed the air, ears perked, then gave a quiet, satisfied bark. Emma giggled softly, the first sound of relief breaking through the tension, and Max wagged his tail slightly, chest heaving. Even in the chaos of smoldering wood and smoke, a bond had formed stronger than fire itself. The courage of a dog who had risked everything for a child, and the gratitude of a family who now knew what true heroism looked like. The last embers hissed as firefighters carefully doused the remaining flames, smoke curling into the twilight sky. Max's sides rose and fell with deep, steady breaths, muscles relaxing for the first time since the fire began. Emma clung to him, her tiny arms wrapped around his neck, soot streaking her cheeks, but a wide smile breaking through her tears. Sarah wiped her face, staring at Max as if seeing him in a new light. A hero, not just a pet. Jack approached, nodding at Sarah, then crouched to Emma's level, offering a reassuring smile. Max remained alert, ears twitching, but the danger had passed. Neighbors gathered, murmuring about the bravery of a dog who had risked everything. In the midst of smoke and scorched earth, the family huddled together, hearts beating in sync, bound by relief and awe. Max's amber eyes met Sarah's one last time, silent understanding passing between them. Night began to settle over the neighborhood. The sky a deep indigo streaked with the glow of the dying fire. Max lay beside Emma, chest rising and falling steadily, eyes still watchful despite exhaustion. Sarah knelt close, brushing soot from his fur, murmuring soft words of gratitude and praise. Emma's small hand patted his head, her giggles now free and bright, cutting through the lingering tension. Jack moved among the firefighters, ensuring every ember was fully extinguished, but he stole glances at Max, impressed by the dog's bravery. Neighbors whispered, sharing the story of a dog who had run headlong into flames to save a child. The yard smelled of smoke and scorched wood, yet the warmth of survival lingered. Max lifted his head slightly, ears alert, amber eyes gleaming in the fading light. For Emma, for Sarah, for everyone watching, he had become more than a pet. He was courage embodied in fur. The fire truck's engines idled as the last hoses hissed dry, leaving behind a yard coated in ash and a faint smell of smoke. Max sat upright, fur singed at the edges, gaze unwaveringly fixed on Emma. She crawled into his side, small arms hugging him tightly, relief washing over her face. Sarah crouched beside them, brushing ash from Max's coat, voice trembling as she whispered, "You saved her. You saved her, Max." Jack approached, helmet in hand, surveying the damage but secretly admiring the dog's bravery. The neighbors lingered, murmuring awe at what they had just witnessed.
It's beautiful.
Max's chest rose and fell with quiet determination, ears flicking at every sound, still ready to protect. For Emma, the world outside had been terrifying, but here, with Max's warmth and courage, fear melted into trust. In the smoke-streaked twilight, a bond had deepened, unspoken yet unbreakable. The night air cooled, carrying faint scents of wet ash and charred wood. Max remained close to Emma, her small hands tracing the edges of his fur, eyes wide with wonder and newfound trust. Sarah wrapped her arms around both of them, tears sliding silently down her cheeks, heart still pounding from the terror they'd faced. Jack moved back, giving Max a respectful nod, a silent acknowledgement of the hero who didn't wear a uniform. The neighbors whispered quietly among themselves, sharing stories of the dog who had run into the fire without hesitation. Max lifted his head, amber eyes reflecting the dim glow of streetlights, still alert, still protective. Emma giggled softly, leaning her head against his shoulder. In that fragile moment of calm after chaos, the bravery of one loyal dog had not only saved a child, it had stitched together a family's heart, reminding everyone that courage can come on 4 legs. As the firefighters packed up and the last hoses were coiled, the neighborhood settled into a quiet hush. Max lay beside Emma, ears twitching at distant sounds, but finally allowing himself a moment to relax. Sarah sat cross-legged on the grass, holding her daughter close, feeling the tremors of fear slowly fade. Jack gave one last inspection of the scorched garage, then approached, crouching to scratch behind Max's ears. The dog's amber eyes met his, steady and unflinching, a silent bond forged in fire and trust. Emma yawned, exhausted but comforted, pressing her cheek against Max's side. Around them, neighbors offered murmured praise, their voices tinged with awe and disbelief. The glow from the fire was gone, leaving only smoke curling into the night sky. Yet in that darkness, the light of courage and loyalty shone brighter than ever. Max, the dog who had risked everything, remained a steadfast guardian, silent but heroic. The night deepened, and the acrid scent of smoke lingered in the cool air. Max shifted slightly, nudging Emma gently as she stirred from a brief doze, eyes blinking sleepily. Sarah wrapped a blanket around both of them, holding them close, murmuring reassurances she hoped they both felt. Jack lingered nearby, talking quietly with other firefighters, but his gaze kept returning to the dog who had risked everything. Max's amber eyes glimmered in the dim streetlight, reflecting quiet pride and unwavering loyalty. Emma's tiny fingers traced the contours of his fur, a simple gesture of gratitude she didn't fully understand. Yet it was enough. The night was still, except for the occasional crackle of dying embers. In that calm, the family and their hero shared a moment of peace. The bond between child and dog stronger than fear, stronger than fire, a reminder that courage sometimes comes on 4 legs. Fearless and true. The first stars appeared, tiny pinpricks of light above the smoke-streaked sky. Max lay stretched beside Emma, ears flicking at distant sounds, yet utterly calm now. Sarah rested her hand on his head, brushing soot from his fur, whispering words of thanks she could never fully express. Emma snuggled closer, exhausted but safe, her small warmth a testament to the miracle that had just unfolded. Jack lingered at the edge of the yard, shaking his head in quiet admiration, knowing the dog had saved a life without hesitation. Around them, the neighborhood was hushed, the chaos of earlier replaced by awe and relief. Max lifted his head, amber eyes scanning the area one last time, then lowered it with a soft exhale. In that serene moment, the fire's destruction seemed almost secondary. Courage, loyalty, and love had triumphed. And in the heart of a small family, a dog named Max had become more than a pet. He had become a legend.
Oh, it's so bright.
Dawn began to tint the horizon with soft pinks and golds, painting over the night's chaos. Max sat beside Emma, now awake and smiling, brushing soot from her hair as if sharing in her relief. Sarah hugged them both tightly, heart still pounding but filled with gratitude. Jack, finishing his final checks, gave Max a respectful nod, acknowledging the courage that had saved a child's life. Neighbors began to stir, whispers of awe spreading through the street about the German shepherd who had run into fire without hesitation. Max's amber eyes followed Emma as she played quietly, tail wagging softly, the hero of the night resting at last. Smoke drifted lazily into the morning sky, but the warmth of survival lingered in the yard. In that quiet dawn, courage had walked on 4 legs, loyalty had shone brighter than fire, and a bond had been sealed forever, unspoken, unbreakable, and unforgettable.